David Hartman, owner of Fantastic Endeavors Travel and Sea. I am Dave's Disney. Welcome to our Disney Die Hard show. Very important topic today. I'm sure you've been following the news. So what is going on? What is Reedy Creek? What is Reedy Creek Improvement District? And is it gone forever? That is a mouthful. Reedy Creek Improvement District. For short, it's RCID. Today is just for our community. As you're watching, please like it, leave a comment, a question, and your opinion on what's going on. Leave out your political opinions because this is a no politics show. The big news is that yesterday, the Gov of Florida approved the legislature's vote, and they voted to dissolve RCID, the Reedy Creek Improvement District. What exactly does that mean? We're going to talk about it. So join me today for the next few minutes, and we'll talk about RCID, what it means to Walt Disney World in Central Florida, and what it means to the local communities around Walt Disney World. That's the most important piece, which was completely forgotten about our state government here in Florida. But I'm going to talk about it right now with you guys, so join me. It's going to be a lot of fun. And just remember, my only note on politics will be, remember, it's an election year in Florida, and when you take on Disney, it makes national news. First off, let's talk about some history. Reedy Creek was created in 1967. I do got a map to show you guys. Yay. And this was created by the same Florida State Legislature who just dissolved it yesterday. My, how things change. Wah, wah. And this was because Walt Disney Company, with Walt pushing his whole Epcot, experimental prototype community of tomorrow or city of tomorrow, and they bought up like 27,000 acres in Central Florida, and they wanted the ability to manage all the building codes and the infrastructure themselves and not have to deal with the community. Please note, nothing was going on in the area at this time. Some of the arguments I heard is like, why should Disney have an advantage over other theme parks in Florida? Because they're the ones that created the whole area. If it wasn't for them, nothing would be in Orlando right now. It is 39 square miles or 25,000 acres. Part of it's been sold off or annexed of the year. The current map I'm showing you is the existing outline, and Walt Disney World's this gray area in the center. And the down below that is mostly drainage districts. And then that big kind of white splotch in the bottom is now a Celebration, which Disney built and now runs pretty independently on its own. It does cross over Orange and Osceola counties. There's a distinct line basically near 192 there. You can see right above that white splotch of Celebration, and that's Osceola County to the south. And most of everything you know as Walt Disney World is in Orange County, except for, can anyone tell me in the chat, what's the one big key piece of Walt Disney World beyond, the Celebration in the Drainage District? What's one key piece that is in Osceola County? I'll give you a hint. It sometimes affects your tax rate. It does encompass two towns, Bay Lake and Lake Buena Vista, mostly in the kind of big section up top in the Orange County section. Bay Lake is what most Walt Disney World theme parks are in. Then Disney Springs and the Saratoga Springs are in the Lake Buena Vista section. I will talk about the history a little bit in a different slide. This is what it looked like when they were buying it up. Let me get rid of the banner. I'm still over here. Hello. These are the different parcels Disney bought up in the mid-60s. They basically bought up the parcels, were already lobbying the state saying, hey, you've heard all the stories about how hidden it was. It was a secret. They used MT Law and East Compass Land Company, all these funny names to buy it. So they already had a name. They had a Disney company for 20 years, 30 years. They had Disneyland, very popular. And they bought it up in many different parcels, mostly with land options. They actually had to pay for options, then execute those options. And all these different colors are all those options. Actually, one family, they bought the green part, which was included Bay Lake, and most of what you see now is Walt Disney World. And then over time, part of these parcels have changed hands. There's a notch to the left there in the white. They just purchased, if you heard the news 2 years ago, right when COVID started. So hopefully now they'll expand Magic Kingdom area one day. Who knows? But over the years, they buy and sell land. But overall, 25,000 acres, 39 square miles, size of two Manhattans or San Francisco, and in full control by Reedy Creek Improvement District, which again crosses over 2 counties and encompasses those 2 areas. So that's the little history, and that's the map. There are residents of this Reedy Creek area, and I'll tell you where the communities are. You can see them on Google Maps. There are 23 residents in the Bay Lake area and 16 in Lake Buena Vista. Again, continue with the history of what is Reedy Creek Improvement District. At the end, I'll tell you why we actually care about it. Now, these are cast members who don't actually own real estate, but live in housing there that's owned by Disney, technically. There are electors, directors, 5 directors of Reedy Creek that control that board, the board of the Improvement District, which again, Improvement District is a special district created by the state. The more popular one in farming zones is irrigation districts, but it is an entity of the state. It is an independent government body. And these 5 electors own property that is not in control by Disney, not developed, but they are independent electors, boards of that Reedy Creek Improvement District, but they don't live there. I don't know why, maybe an independence thing, representation thing, but that's the gist of it. This is a governmental entity, and it does have some power over many things that are important because it is the governing body of Walt Disney World, which is, again, what we know as that 25,000 acres. But get deeper if you want to get in the weeds on this and look at how much buildable land is left in Walt Disney World. It's a lot less than what you think. They have to kind of keep buying land in the south and other areas to bring more of it to buildable. And despite the board of directors of RCID handle zoning and things like that, because that's what they do, is roads, waste management, zoning, emergency services, they are pretty independent. Yeah, there's maybe a Disney cast member on there, but over the years, they developed independence where getting zoning things passed is not as easy as it used to be. So I know that a lot of Imagineers, my friend Tony Baxter knows, don't like RCID, don't like how strict they are because they're upholding an agreement with the state to keep preserve in the Walt Disney World 25,000 acres and also uphold building standards. So obviously you're going to fight with creative people. So there's some independence there, but overall it is a pretty much Disney controlled entity, something that the state wanted that supported until yesterday. So what are the advantages for Disney company of this district? Obviously the Epcot community of tomorrow, prototype community of tomorrow never came to fruition. Once Walt died, the dream died with him. But a lot of the principles he had were put into Celebration and a little bit into Golden Oak, which are separate now of that RCID. The only people in the district are Disney cast members who are very important to whether or not this district will stick around. Stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for being on an impromptu Saturday afternoon. Please leave me a comment in the chat what you think of this topic and questions and what's your opinion. The advantages for Disney. 1, they can establish their own building codes and zoning rules. They don't have to go to Osceola or Orange counties to handle that. Disney actually wanted their own country at first, their own county, but the improvement level of that was so strict, they decided to go with an improvement district. And they did the right way. They actually took all these individual lands, combined them together, and then petitioned an appellate court, which led to them going to the legislature. At the same time, they petitioned the appellate court to become a district. The executives were lobbying the legislature, so then it all came together. So it was done the right way, despite you hear something in the news it wasn't. It was done purely the right way, and the state did vote on it and approve it. They also can issue bonds for roads and infrastructure. That's one of the big 2 reasons right there. Why? Because everyone knows the story. In Disneyland, Walt didn't have enough money to actually go and buy all the land he wanted to. And right away, outside his area, he had flop houses, cheap hotels, cheap, dirty businesses, and he couldn't stand that. It took away from the environment he wanted. He wanted more real estate, more control of the zoning in the area, and then control the building code so he can build what he wanted because they're creative people. It's an entertainment company. Those are the main reasons. Some other reasons too, obviously being in control of your infrastructure means better roads. If you drove on Disney roads versus roads on 192, that's in Kissimmee, just south of Disney. How about on I-4? Wonderful roads. Disney does an amazing job at everything they do. We know that, and the quality is there. And they have, floated about almost $2 billion worth of bonds out there to make sure their infrastructure is intact. They control the building codes of those hotels, even the outside hotels, the Swan Reserve, Swan and Dolphin. That's all part of Reedy Creek, even though those are owned by Tishman, a big contractor from New York who actually built Epcot. A little bit of trivia for you there. So without those two things in place, what happens? And I mentioned something about bond debt. Well, they issued a bunch of bonds. Look at all the infrastructure they have. They do it to pay it off over time. That's the main reason they started this infrastructure. So what happens if Reedy Creek goes away? By the way, in more history, Reedy Creek is an actual existing creek that runs through Disney property, comes in from the north and actually kind of exits down by Coronado Springs, kind of crosses across there. So they actually named the district after that creek. The creek was already there. Who was named after? I have no idea. If you know, put it in the chat. First off, this one no one's talking about, but in my diligent research for you guys, I find out the Reedy Creek District taxes itself and then gives it off to Orange and Osceola counties. Obviously, most of the lion's share goes to Orange because that's most of the real estate. Again, that north of Kissimmee Boulevard, or LeBlanson Boulevard, 192. And then the south Osceola is a much smaller footprint. But they get a lot of this $150 million in special tax that will disappear. No one's talking about that one. Disappear, gone, because it's a special tax lobbied by RCID itself. And then, well, how would an independent company like Disney, controlled by the counties of the state, be incurred a special tax? I don't know. We'll talk about that. Secondly, Orange and Osceola counties would absorb the $1.7 billion bond debt Disney has run up on purpose because that's how they're doing their finances. No one thought this election year fight would happen. They didn't run the debt on purpose so no one could take them over. That's just how they're managing their finances, which is purely legal and within their responsibility and fiscal responsibility of how to manage that district. And it's something they're paying off over time, and that's what they do. Well, if they take that district away, Disney can't just assume that debt because that was for infrastructure they built. The county took over, and the counties have to assume that debt. That's how it goes. How do you get around that? I heard stories about, oh, we'll just tax Disney more. I'm like, well, you want them with the same benefits and the same level playing field as Universal and SeaWorld, but now you want to tax them more. Wouldn't that mean a special district? I don't know. I love election years. Local taxpayers are assumed the cost of Disney World infrastructure and services. So you see where I'm going here? $105 million lost off the table. That is something they voluntarily do. No one's talked about that. The debt that's out there. Oh, you're going to make a special vote they keep that debt? Well, then they're not in the level playing field with all other people in the area. You took away the roads they built, but then we'd say, oh, they keep that debt though. And then say local taxpayer, how about improvements going forward? How about the Disney standards they have? Who assumes that? Services, emergency services, infrastructure, all things I talked about before. Who's going to take care of those? We talked about, they're governed by Walt Disney World, waste management, zoning, emergency services. Universal greases the freaking politicians of Orange County left and right, and zoning rules boards left and right. Well, Disney will have to do the same. That's fine. They can handle that. But someone's got to pay for all the other services they have, including upkeep of the roads. Oh, that's right. They're going to tax Disney even more than another company to do that, even though the fight was to put them on a level playing field with other companies in Florida. Okay. Election year in Florida. Now, and also, again, how to get Disney to pay for what they already have. And I've already heard, they'll create a special taxing district. Okay, wait. So you dissolved one district to figure out that they're going to cost a tax burden that nobody wants, which I'll take, my next argument here, why it's not going away. How are you going to special tax Disney for roads and a special thing you just took away? We have to create a special taxing district. It's just crazy. Unbelievable. Obviously, this was not well thought out, nor was the bill it was fought over. So why is Reedy Creek Improvement District here to stay? This is completely my opinion after research I've done and knowing a lot about this. On my shelf to my left are numerous books about Disney. I love the history of Disney, and I know why this was created. I know how supportive Florida was until a few weeks ago of Reedy Creek. Even the competition doesn't really care. I mean, Universal cares a little bit, but they have their own stuff going on. But I'll tell you right now, the people who live in the counties where Disney World is based, they care a lot about Reedy Creek Improvement District. The residents of Bay Lake and Lake Buena Vista must approve dissolution of RCID. That is state law. That is codified. And somehow that is not talked about after this thing passed. They have rights. They are residents of a county, and they have rights under Florida law. And that dissolution of that state did not take it away. And there's arguments back and forth. And where do arguments go? Court cases. And then there's arguments you decide whether or not the state will uphold and take away rights of residents or uphold rights of residents. Last I saw, Florida was a free state. We'll see. Maybe that's changing too. Obviously, free speech is where this all got started, and now that's in question. So that's a big one. There's like, again, 23 residents, 5 electors, directors. They're obviously going to favor Disney. So when this happens, I'll talk about the end. But when they vote to approve it, then does it go to the courts or what happens? We shall see. Orange and Osceola counties favor Reedy Creek Improvement District. Orange and Osceola counties favor Reedy Creek Improvement District. Why? All the things we just talked about, that tax burden. Disney is a beacon of tourism. Now you're going to make them throttle back and make them add additional cost. All I heard is about tax Disney more. Why would you discourage them? 50 million visitors a year to Walt Magic Kingdom. They built the theme park district. There was nothing in Orlando before Walt saw what I have behind me and had a vision for a vacation kingdom. And then I love some guy in the news on CNBC. It was like, do you want Disney in Florida? Yes, but under the same rules everyone else is under. Well, not really. You want a special tax then. 2 was like, what does this message put out to other companies when I come to Florida? Not a good one. Just my opinion. Anyways, they favor it because all the tourism, all the positives of Disney, and obviously they don't want the tax burden. Both counties can create a new RCID. I heard this one today. Thanks to the blogger I follow for doing that. And he's awesome. DSNY newscast. How about that? Fine. You know what? The state goes through. By the way, it's June 1st, 2023, and I'll talk about what happens next, is when this goes into effect. It affected all improvement districts, special districts created before 68. They use that rule because it's the Constitution when that was created in the current Florida Constitution. Meanwhile, guess what else is a special district? Unaffected. The villages in Florida, if you don't talk about it. Go Bill Greco. Hello out there. You're next, Bill. Well, why not all the special districts? This so singled out Disney. It's ridiculous all over a bad comment by a very poor CEO who doesn't know how to handle these type of things, honestly. Again, it's an election year in Florida. So yes, fine. The state wins their argument. Maybe they win the court case. Maybe they take away the rights of people under Florida law who have rights to keep a district that they were created for. Fine. The local counties go, you know what, Disney, we're going to give you a similar district minus that nuclear power plant. They no lie. They had the rights to a nuclear power plant and an airport. Airport was built and no longer used. Now it's just storage right behind Fort Wilderness there, adjacent to World Drive. Power plant never happened, but they still have that right to do that. Probably not going to happen. So what happens next? What happens next? Well, nothing. Nothing at all. Why has Disney not said a word? Not a word. The board told the current CEO, who's an absolute raving lunatic and has no idea beyond his calculator on his desk. By the way, he's a retail project manager that all he knows is counting numbers, and he got promoted way too fast for this company just to give Bob Iger a nice exit. Just my opinion. It's my community show. It's my opinion show. Nothing's going to happen. They haven't commented because they know the law of Florida. They know their rights and rules. They know it's an election year. They already kicked the hornet's nest once. Exact quote by a politician on CNBC, Richard Fine, who sponsored the bill. Go watch it, a 5-minute video. CNBC was so good. You said they kicked the hornet's nest, but you said this is not retaliation, but you said you support free speech, and this guy's just sidestepping the whole thing. It's just so funny. I love election year in Florida. Nothing's going to happen. They'll wait things to calm down. There's a congressional election year, state election year. It's a governor election year. What a surprise. And they'll wait for that to calm down, and then they'll go to their electors, have their vote, present that to the state. If they balk, saying, no, it's dissolved anyways, they'll go to court, and the court most likely will support it. If not, it'll go back to Orange and Osceola County. Do you guys want this tax burden, short-term and long-term, and the cost to maintain all this? No. So they can create their own version thereof, a smaller version. Will this affect your experience in Walt Disney World going forward? Not at all. Again, this doesn't go into effect in June 2023. Gee, why'd they pick that? Isn't that a fiscal year thing in Florida? This was done so fast, so poorly thought out. The poor politicians that have to support our governor so they don't veto their own little pet programs. It was all done on party lines. It is one of the saddest states I've ever lived in, I got to tell you, politically. And I'm kind of in the middle, honestly. This is such a joke. You're going to go after Disney, the biggest single site employer in the state and in the country, almost 80,000 cast members, counting all their ancillary and equity cast members, the one that built basically tourism in Florida, and you're going to go after them over a slight by the CEO? Give me a break. Nothing's going to happen. Disney's sitting back, say, hey, our CEO's a flaming ass. He made an error. They'll just sit back with their feet up going, nothing you could do. Fine, you voted. Good. We'll fight another day when the politicians don't care anymore, because come January, they're all in place for the next term, and they're not going to care about Disney's little slip up come last March from a CEO that will either, not, if not gone, he will be gone by February, I think, 28th or 23rd, 2023. He will be gone. There's no way they're bringing this guy back. And Skip Shearer, the countdown's on. My buddy Skip Shearer and I, co-founders of Disney Day Drinkers Club. Check us out. The fastest growing group on Facebook, coolest group on Facebook. We were talking about this it only has 11 months ago. So I actually did the countdown. It's 312 days left in Bob Chapek's contract. And if Bob Iger was around, this problem would have never happened. He would have handled a lot better. Yes, Chapek had a balance. Cast member walkouts in this bill called Don't Say Gay Bill, even though it's more than that. I'm not getting into there. Didn't have to be handled the way he handled it. He's mishandled a lot of things. Nothing's going to happen. Board shut this guy up. They'll sit back. Yep, yeah, you voted. Yeah, well, dissolve. They have great lawyers, a lot more high powered than the state's lawyers, and they will fight it out in court if needed. If not, there's that backup plan, which I'm sure the residents of Osceola and Orange County will go for, which is to create a similar special district just for the services they need, because there's nothing from the state that Disney needs. The bond power, the zoning, the infrastructure, that's all county level. And the state saying, hey, we want Orange County and Osceola County to assume these things. You know what they're saying? No way. Disney's a monster with almost no representation. Disney itself, the Disney company, is absorbing all these things that residents are not. So now you're going to put billions of dollars a year in infrastructure on the taxpayers of 2 surrounding counties? That makes no sense whatsoever. This is a bane for the economy in Florida and for the residents of those areas. Disney is overspending to the hill for their quality control and assurances. And they absorb that debt, not local taxpayers. I'm sure their local people, residents have paid taxes, but they're cast members, so that's all worked out. That's it. That's my show today. I was very vocal, doing research and going crazy. Just remember, Reedy Creek Improvement District, is it gone forever? No, I think it'll be around the same way it's around once the elections are over, and Disney will go, hey, by the way, read the law. And they go, oh, we missed that. And then whatever. If a court may decide, may get appeal, but I wouldn't worry about it. Yes, the Florida legislature voted down, but remember, it's an election year. And to me, Reedy Creek is here to stay. Woohoo! On my regular channel tomorrow, enjoy the journey and my fantastic endeavors YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Going to be doing a cruise update tomorrow afternoon. Check that out. You guys have a wonderful Saturday afternoon, and long live Walt Disney World. Yay!